Hi, good morning, everybody. We already have a couple of people in the room. Thank you so much for joining today, our webinar on how to reduce your EPD verification time. Very quick organizational things, just for you to know. We will be recording the session and, of course, sharing it with you afterwards. If you have any questions, if you want to put your hand up, interrupt, also ask the question on the spot, feel free to do so. We'll be happy to unmute you if you want to speak, or if you just want to write the questions, you can write it on the chat or on the Q&A session. We will have one poll at the beginning, so please feel free to react. Yeah, aside from that, I will let you on to Jonas, who will also moderate the session today. And we will wait a couple minutes before so that more people can join the live session.
Yeah. Thank you, Steffi. Welcome, everyone. I see slowly some people more joining, but it's also 2:02, so I think we can also slowly begin with general introduction. Yeah, everyone, a very warm welcome. I would also like to wish a warm welcome to our two guest speakers today, Anni Oviir and Lucas Pedro Berman. I would ask you both, maybe Anni first, to quickly introduce themselves and the companies they are working for and how they are working on EPDs and verifications. Anni, please.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Jonas. Yes, my name is Anni, and I'm a co-founder and CEO of Lodestellar. And it's a software which just a month ago launched. Before, I've been working in my consultancy called LCA Support, and I've been verifying EPDs for nearly a decade now. And in the consultancy, what we also did, we helped building product manufacturers to develop EPDs.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah, exciting stuff. Thank you. And Lucas, please.
Okay. Thank you, Jonas. Hello, everyone. I'm Lucas Berman. I'm an architect by training. And I started out with the building sustainability sector with certification as LEED, BREEAM, etc. Then during the pandemic, I moved to the industrial sector with technical LCAs from buildings, from events, from sports, etc. and production construction products. And more recently, since 3 or 4 years, I became a verifier with a different program operator. So here we are.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Well, I will also give a little bit of perspective on my role at Emidat. I'm a LCA Quality Manager, which means I'm overseeing our verification, tool verification projects. And before Emidat, I used to work for the Dutch environmental database, also known as NMD, Nationale Milieudatabase, where I worked on the Dutch kind of PCR for construction products. And with that, I think it's time to get the audience involved a little bit. So we have a little poll for you on your experience with EPD verification and specifically regarding timelines. Hopefully we can also get a poll going on in the Teams meeting.
You should be able to see a pop-up.
Yeah, should be available now. So please, everyone, respond to the poll. We are interested to hear your perspective on whether an EPD verification has taken longer than expected when starting the project. Okay, we see I have 7 responses, 8 coming in. I think there's already a clear trend showing right now, which is not the answer you want to hear, of course. We still have some more people that can respond, but I think I can already see that heavily the responses are based on, yes, the time that it has taken to do a verification project has taken mostly significantly longer than planned, sometimes slightly longer. And I think actually no one is saying that the process ran on schedule. So yeah, thank you for your responses. That's very telling. Yeah, that's very telling. Then moving kind of to the context of where EPDs are headed within Europe, it seems like we have a big problem on our hands because with the coming CPR, the scale of EPDs is going to grow, orders of magnitude. Right now, it's very voluntarily based. EPDs are used for communications. Sometimes there's requirements for specific building projects. The number of verifiers is limited within Europe, and in the future, a huge number of manufacturers will be required to comply with CPR regulations to create environmental product data, be it in the form of an EPD or as part of their DPP. So it seems we have a problem. Like timelines are already going long. At the same time, we have to scale up a lot. And this is why we want to hold this session today, to talk about the EPD verification process. Where are the challenges usually? Why is this process complicated? Then we want to talk about how tool verification can also contribute to making EPD verifications more efficient. And yeah, in the end, we kind of reflect on the process currently and on the ideal process, and to see where the challenges and the options are. In between, we have some time for some critical questions. So hopefully, it will be an interesting hour for everyone. With that, I will quickly introduce Emidat. Emidat, the vision of the company is to have the built environment work within planetary boundaries. And we want to do this by ensuring that it's a business value for companies to provide sustainable building materials. So it needs to be kind of fast for them to create sustainability data on their product portfolio. It needs to be easy because we need to do it at scale. So, and yeah, this should result in products becoming more sustainable. And the strategy kind of to achieve this is that we want to build a climate native product management system, so that manufacturers can manage all their products within the Emidat platform. They can generate LCAs, EPDs, maybe DPPs in the future. Sales can use this information to use sustainability as a sales pitch, and products can be kind of developed further also in the direction of sustainability. Then I would ask Anni to give some of her background again.
Yes, so I will be speaking about why EPD verification exists and why it matters, but just quickly before about Lodestellar. So Lodestellar is a tool that is created to help EPD quality reviews. And as I explained before, I'm EPD verifier and I've been so for last almost a decade. And what I've seen is that there are lots of tools popping up for helping to develop EPDs and also help manufacturers gather their data, but EPD verifiers have not really had any support. And as Jonas was explaining before, the demand for EPDs is growing and EPD verifiers have really become the bottleneck. So that's the reasoning behind why this kind of tool was developed in first place. But once we developed the tool, we realized that the value could be also elsewhere, not just for the verifiers. And this is now also why we're offering this for any part in the process, from developing EPD for EPD developers, for verifiers, also for program operators. So anybody who wants to understand better their EPD quality and to make sure that there are no issues, mistake or like left in the EPD once it's going to published. Yes, so I think I will. So it's yeah.
Yeah, thank you. That's great perspective. Yeah. So yeah, Lodestellar, keep an eye on them. It sounds like you could deliver a lot of value, and I think Emidat is also interested in this. Then I would ask Lucas to give a bit of background on the Senda consultancy.
Okay, yes, but the company it's related to consultant and verifier. More than that, not just the EPD verification, as I told you before. So more also includes LCA of buildings, events, sport events, cultural events, and the whole world related to the LCA world. We work since maybe 15 years in the market, and recently we became globally because of the technology. It's really useful for us. That's it. It's a really fast overview of the company.
Thank you. So then going back into the structure of the presentation, like we will first talk about manual verification process, kind of. Anni will take a hold of this, like what does it typically look like and what does it entail. And then later we will talk with Lucas more about the tool verification process. So I think I would now hand over to Anni.
Thank you. So quickly, what verification does, or why verification is important? Probably it's quite obvious, but obviously it's to prevent greenwashing is number one thing, because otherwise, if everybody could develop their EPDs and nobody would check if these EPDs according to the standard, then anybody can declare whatever they want. So that's kind of the basis. And even if there are manufacturers who have published self-declared EPDs, in that case, there is always the risk that it's not comparable with EPD that has third-party verified. So the main reason for verifying EPDs is, of course, that prevents greenwashing, but then like through that it supports comparability, and second of all, it builds market confidence. So we need transparent and comparable data. That's the basis of why we are verifying EPDs. And I've listed here also a couple of things that what the verifier checks, like input data quality, methodology, system boundaries, PCR standards, compliance, consistency of the model, and the report, claims, disclosure, and assumptions. It's just like very rough overview of what are the main things that are pretty much described in the verifier checklist. So classically, what verifiers work looks like is that we are receiving EPD and the background report, and then we have checklist against which we have to verify first the background report and then the EPD, and then we are filling up the verification report and sending it to the manufacturer. So some of you probably have gone through this process already, because I saw from your answers that it's taken significantly longer than we planned. was 84% of the answers. Maybe you can go to the next slide.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, summing up kind of the last slide is that the verifier does not only check if the numbers add up, but they also check if the reasoning behind that is there. And one of the very big, like what we should take the value from the verifier's work is not just the fact that verifier needs to check if the calculation is done correctly, but I see that verifier's work very much is also to actually challenge the EPD practitioner and make them understand why they're making certain modeling decisions. It's because, as you might know, the standards can be interpreted in various ways. And if this interpretation is not challenged, then that means that there might be some aspects that the EPD developer actually doesn't understand. And to me, that's like the kind of higher purpose of the verifier, that the verifier would actually also this challenge of what is written and what's done in the work. Yes, we can go to next slide. So probably this is the most interesting part for the audience here, is where the delays are coming from. So over here added just the basic workflow of like, EPD submitted, verifier ask clarifications, and then what is my experience, and this can be a bit subjective because I think every verifier works a bit differently, and they have different ways of how they communicate the remarks. But basically, what I have really noticed is that first round of comments, what I send out are typically about transparency issues, which is basically that there are aspects that are not described. There's like maybe the result is making sense, but the report doesn't include statement or explanation of why you have made certain decision in your LCA modeling. And this is where the comments are going mostly. It's about transparency and like clarity and just understanding like what's been done, why it's been done exactly like you're saying you've done your LCA. And then what happens is that the second round, when I get back the improved report, and EPD is that I spotted, hey, like actually you have done here something that is not really how you're supposed to do that. And this is really the point where I, as a verifier, can see if we are dealing with consultant who has lots of experience and they know what they're doing, or we are dealing with somebody who is first time behind the computer and using a tool that helps them to with EPDs. So this is typically the situation where the biggest delays are coming from, is that after the first or second round, the second round is where they actually, in my experience, really are showing me that, okay, the calculation is not done correctly, because they are then revealing what is the problem in the background report. So that's also one of the main reasons why Lodestellar was created, was exactly to bring this kind of issues earlier to the pipeline, so that before the EPD goes to the verification, the manufacturer or EPD developer, whoever it is who is submitting EPD to the verifier, can actually go through and check that there is nothing really obvious that is broken or missing or not done correctly. So yeah, this is largely based on my experience. Of course, it's also important to note that in different markets it works slightly different. But that's like the overall, like I would say the most important thing to remember is that most of the problems are coming from lack of transparency. And then there are of course some like more simpler things, like there's some copy paste error. And of course, these are the things that are less likely to happen if you have a tool that is reliable. But this is also something that I see as a verifier. Like if you're using a tool that is extremely flexible, then if you're not expert in LCAs, you can easily make mistakes that actually are to do with simple operating inside the tool. And this is something, of course, what verifiers should be able to spot. But as we move forward, I also see that when it comes to the verifier's role, is that verifiers should not really deal with this kind of problems. So verifier time is very expensive. Verifiers have very big experience, and they shouldn't be spending their time dealing with, oh, like you have a copy paste error here. It's just really, really inefficient way of using verifiers' time. We can go to the next slide. So yeah, to sum up what I was just explaining, that faster verification should not mean lower quality. So that's, I think, the biggest driver for me personally when it comes to developing Lodestellar. And also just, what we are really trying to do is to help market step up with actually having more EPDs on the market, but not go lower with the quality. And this is the idea behind it. Of course, the biggest danger when we are actually increasing the number of EPDs, but don't come the quality doesn't follow, is that the entire system loses its trust, and it's not going to be credible anymore, and we cannot have this kind of system in place anymore. Yes, I guess next slide.
I think these are. Do you want to keep this in?
I had also one. There was one like a checklist I also created sort of for the so what to check before submit the EPD, but it's
I can have it in here.
Okay, I can just also walk it through, but then I think we can also move on from here.
Here's the checklist. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Technical problem on our side, but we have it.
Okay, so I've just put here like basic recommendations, like what to go through before you submit your EPD for the verification. And yeah, of course, this is something that we have integrated in Lodestellar as well, just to help anybody who wants to submit their EPD for verification, not to have some kind of surprises that are coming out later in the process. I think that's pretty much what I wanted to explain, and we can can move forward.
Yeah. Thank you, Anni, for that perspective. I think a lot of things that resonate with us also, as we try to, of course, make the first submission as good as possible and standardized so that at least the basic stuff is not missing. So I think actually in your story, you might have already answered the first question, no? But maybe like if you could reiterate it in one sentence.
Yeah, well, it's transparency issues is of course the number one thing that I see, but when it comes to like more simple stuff, then I can also say that number one thing that every verifier is checking, and before we are even continuing anywhere, is that what are the standards they're following. That's of course number one thing. So if we see on the cover page that hey, they're missing a standard they should be following, then that's obviously like, for me, I'm not even going to continue with the EPD verification. This is something that's not too relevant for Emidat users, so I suppose. But then one thing that I also see is that we get submitted EPDs that are actually not EPDs, and this is becoming increasingly a trend, that we get some kind of document that looks like EPD, and the user has not ever done background report for it, and they don't know what it is. And then what we have done in these kind of situations is that because verifier cannot consult, so that's just one key point actually forgot to note, is that verifiers cannot consult the EPD developer. So we are not allowed to give you suggestions or recommendations of how to improve your EPD. So what I've done personally in our consultancies, we have actually told, hey, like you need help with this EPD, we can do it for you, but in that case, we are not the verifiers anymore. But this is just for understanding of anybody who is submitting for verifier, is that the verifier cannot give you advice. We can give you like a list of things that were wrong, but we cannot tell you, hey, this is how I think you should be doing this. So yeah, just one more note on that.
Yeah. So thank you, Anni, for that perspective. I would ask maybe Lucas. So what Anni mentioned is that transparency, first of all, is like the biggest issue. Would you say in the tool verifications you see the same?
Yes, exactly. I totally agree with, I fully agree with Anni mentioned. And I will add exactly transparency and traceability of the documents, because sometimes the consultants are junior, or as they said before, no, the department of the input data internally from the company, within the company, maybe don't know about the technical things, or the main issues of the LCA and the standards. But in the tool itself, of course, it's necessary add all the things that Anni told, but the tool verification itself, it's a really not easy, but it's a really direct process, because we need to see 4 or 5 technical aspects, and that's it. But the problem, or the main issue here, is that one. We need to see the traceability and transparency of the primary data, and that's dependent entirely of the company.
Thank you, Lucas. I get some comments in the chat on the volume, so maybe if you can be a bit closer to the microphone, or if there's something you can do still, then we can try.
Okay, great.
Because I think like maybe it's picking a different microphone. It doesn't seem to be coming from your earphones.
Okay, let's see now. Do you hear me well?
For me, it's okay. I don't know if
Okay.
but I don't think it's coming from your earphones.
Okay.
Like maybe the arrow and Teams next to the microphone you can select. I don't know if you have another microphone that might work better.
No, we'll try to. Let's see if it was the microphone.
No. I mean, for me, it's okay. Yeah, let's just continue. Thank you. So then we go into the tool verification story to talk about the general tool verification process and how it can relate to quality. What are the opportunities and what are the challenges?
Okay, we will go through a quick overview and the initial verification checklist. So we'll start with that. I understand that everyone here knows which is the APD tool, but if not, it's basically it's a software. No, it's a handmade. You can do it by your own as a company. You don't need a consultant or you don't need an expertise on that. Please continue,
Yep.
Jonas. Could you move on the next one? Thanks. Well, the objectives of the verification are that these ones explain the process, describe the main stages and the requirements of the FPD itself. Then the regulatory compliance with the ISOs or the EN. It's depend of it are international or Europe one, but the regulatory compliance is really important. And the technical consistency. There are the three key objectives. Yes, please go to the next one. Thanks. Well, again, the regulatory framework, maybe you know this, you are familiar with these standards. So please, the next one. This is uh, just the framework. Okay, here we are. This is the key thing in the verification. We have 4 families, and the first one is the LCA methodology with the boundaries, with the functional unit, the technical thing of the LCA, right? The PCRs and the whole LCA model since A1 to D. Then the quality data, as Annie told before, the quality data, the important thing is the most important thing is the traceability and consistency and transparency of the primary data, first of all. You know? Then we move to the APD itself with the modelization and algorithms internal of the APD tool and let's say implementation, of course, what the mission factors are, and this different process that you can use or that you can choose inside of the software itself. And they, so it could be the modelization. And the last part, it's the results. No, the biggest areas are GWP, PENRE, and the mathematical consistency in the project tool. Yes, in the tool itself. Those are the a few mathematical comprobations on the final results. Well, that's the things are the input controls, model locking, and those are the requirements of the different program operators. Yeah, that you can validate yourself the model lock, so you can charge the data and then don't touch anyone, don't touch anymore. Of course, the control versions or the version control, maybe there are a few updates, see, or the PCR or the GPI or a different version of the database. And finally, the reproducibility. Yeah, it's like in summary, it's same input, same results. That's it. Would be the main things. Please
Yep.
continue, Jonas. Well, this is a key part. What are the common risks during or in the verification of tool itself? Yes, as I told before, there are non-representative data, maybe some copy and paste errors. You must justify the LCA, the process itself, the traceability and transparency, as we spoke of before. So I don't want to repeat that. Maybe the company don't know the properly technical things about the different modules as sales and installation and etc. Because these modules are more than are could be the internal data or could be as hypothetical data. So the small things inside of the PCRs. Well, the poor input control, mistakes, copy and paste errors. Maybe they had some technical error when they made their own consumptions about the functional units of the declared units, and etc. Those are the most common risk. Please continue, Jonas. Do you hear me well?
Yeah, for me it's okay.
Better than before.
Yes.
Okay, great. So here we will repeat the same thing. That is, it's a process, it's a flow, and with the different stages, with a review, evaluation, test, validation, and report, final report. And here we will see the same thing: the inputs data, the APD tool itself, then the results come out of the tool, and the final control of the APD to be published. Please continue. Okay, and the last thing I think it's ensuring the tool reliability. So we need to see, and it's essential to verify one APD, but also it's essential to verify the APD tool. So the idea is try to understand how the tool works. They had a lot of documents, internal documents that Emidat has already and present, and then they present also the LCA and EPD tool. And with this, in this case, the most important things are the transparency, consistency, and again, regulatory compliance. We repeat that because it's really important. And then, I don't know if there are other one, maybe the checklist or not. Okay, maybe the checklist is before. Then
I think
that's
this is
okay.
the last slide that we have.
In summary, it's that. So we must to see the kitchen and the product and the meat. Yes, or there are both together. It's a really more complex than that, but it's not a really heavy process. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, thank you, Lucas.
No,
I
please.
think my short summary of this would be I think there are comparable challenges that arrive in a single EPD verification and an EPD tool verification.
You are right.
And as Emidat, of course, we are fully committed to scaling up the availability and the quality of environmental data. So we are focusing on this tool verification because we see some opportunities there to solve this problem once, and then if your tool handles it properly, you know, you get to comparable data, etc. I want to touch a bit more upon this later. Now maybe I would ask Anni about tool-generated EPDs. Do you also say that the verification process looks the same, or what are the challenges?
So first of all, depending on the tool and how it's been verified and what's the program operator, there are actually quite different rules around it. So in some cases, and it was in the past, I would say, I'm not too sure if this kind of setup still work the same way. But anyways, it was that pre-verified tool would be enabling, like, obviously like a non-expert to develop EPDs in that case. And back in the days, the tools were not necessarily very well adjusted actually to deal with user who actually doesn't have too much experience. And what I saw, and I think it was like maybe 5-7 years ago, then what happened was that the EPD quality was actually far lower, because it doesn't matter like if the tool is not built in the way that it helps to guardrail the process, then it's very easy to make mistakes. And then what happened was that the verification took actually far longer time, which was not something that the program operators were assuming. But now I guess we're moving more, and also like I haven't personally used Emidat, and I haven't yet had a chance to verify EPD from Emidat, but I assume that the guardrails are far better now. And this is what this big game changer, of course. Where I see a bit of like risk, perhaps, is that if there are more like edge cases that would actually require really in-depth understanding of what you can do and what you cannot do. For example, it's completely new product in the market, then like a template-based tool might not be the best fit. And in that case, of course, like verifier has to review the entire project. But when it's very like a kind of like average product that has like a very like a typical like, I mean, every product has its sort of like a typical way of producing it, then you can set really good guardrails. In that case, the verifier's work is obviously reduced. But yes, I'm going back to this traceability and transparency issue, is that even if the numbers add up, verifiers still have to check if everything is traceable and transparent. And this is something that we cannot just jump over. So it has to be in the tools as well. And what I see also, that maybe in the future, tools will also help the user automatically make sure that, or like help at least to make sure that they can describe really easily what is their assumption, because the tools know where they get their data from, etc. But just a quick another thought is that now the different tools and tool making has become so much more accessible. So that's like, I think, the reason also why the verifiers work has to be verifier should be like the gatekeeper when it comes to EPDs coming out from tools. Yeah, but yeah, let's continue with other points.
No, thank you for that perspective. I think we agree. And I think the guardrails argument that you mentioned is something that in Emidat we also take like seriously. Like there are various tools out on the market, and they can be more general or more specific. And I think this is also related to these guardrails. Like if your tool allows any product to be modeled, this is of course nice for a user, but for a non-LCA expert user, this is also very dangerous because anything is possible, but not anything is allowed. You know, there are regulations, and yeah, this is also a part of our approach at Emidat to really implement one product category at a time, really dive into the regulations, specific PECRs for that product category, and then we are also able to implement the necessary guardrails for that category to ensure that it follows the regulation. So I think we are really aligned on that. And yeah, then also in terms of the kind of manufacturer being able to enter this data into our system, we have of course a system of kind of climate success managers. They guide the user. They also provide training to ensure that everything happens according to the requirements in the standards. So I think maybe to go towards the second question, these are very important steps, and I would say maybe even requirements to ensure confidence in tool-generated files, and to ensure that actually you know tool-generated EPDs result in faster verification timelines, because we have the homework done, and we ensure that we are aligned and that the necessary guardrails are in place to guide the verification process. Any thoughts on that?
And
Yes, you're
that's
right. Please.
just a quick note on that. So when the process is well implemented, then I think what happens for the verifier is that the checklist is just much smaller, and this is how it should be. The verifier should be the expert who is using their time in a good way, and they're just checking the most important parts that have to be correct on an EPD, and everything else is locked in. And yeah, so ideally this is how it works, that you have far shorter checklist that verifier has to go through. And yeah.
Thank you. Lucas?
Yes, exactly. I agree with both. And the thing here is the tool itself, the generated tool. It's another one. It's a it's important, but if you see the requires less preparation, less times involved. So the key thing is that again the department that input internal data knows about the LCA standards and requirements. But the EPD itself, if you present the EPD tool report and if you explain and maybe you had a short meeting with the demo of the program, the EPD tool, it's the same because they use also the same databases that the other ones. So I agree with you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, yeah. Then I'll move on to the last part. The feedback loop, where the time goes. So what is the current verification process, or like a default kind of verification process, and where do we see optimal verification process going? So what we see is that in a kind of standard verification, there might be a lack of like a lack of submitted data, missing documentation. I think this points back to the point of transparency and traceability that was mentioned multiple times. This would need to be flagged by a verifier. Often, LCA consultant might need to go back to a manufacturer. They would need to check assumptions, etc. They would need to resubmit, and you run into new issues in new cycles, and the loop repeats. And in the optimal verification process, where we are striving to be, we submit a complete data package. It's automized. We always know if something is missing because it is automized, and we ensure that if anything is missing, like we add it, and then it's added in all verification processes. This needs to be clearly reported, of course, for the verifier to see. Of course, no verification can be maybe spotless, so the verifier might still have remarks. But our strategy is then to implement these remarks generally in the tool, so that all next verifications even turn out to be smoother, or any lack of transparency is recovered. And then hopefully this will result in a fast resolution and a quicker EPD submission. That is our dream. And I think, yeah, we are already nicely on the way to realize this. These are the things that we have already implemented in the Emidat tool. So going from the top left, I think one of the other things that was mentioned is PCR compliance, which is very important for a verifier to check. As I mentioned, Emidat implements two product categories one by one. So if we add a new product category to our tool as a possibility to generate output for, we first, with our LCA team, do the research. We check to see what are possible outputs, what are regulations for this category, and we ensure that everything that is outputted by the Emidat tool already meets this compliance. And hopefully this makes the process a lot easier. Of course, the mathematical consistency is covered by our LCA tool core, and there's nothing that a user can change in this, and it also should not be like this. We can have some plausibility checks for the inputs that can be optimized and can be improved upon. And we can also automatically generate the documentation and the sources on the default values because we know where they come from. Of course, then there's human judgment required for actual input data for the manufacturer. So we have our customer success managers, and also that's where the reduced verification checklist can come in for the actual verifier. In some cases, depending on the standards to which verification is done, site inspection might be needed. Also going forward in the CPR, this of course would also require human judgment. And human judgment is also required when the actual modeling assumptions are updated, or new processes or new materials are added. So you do this check once, you see if it's properly implemented, and then in the future, this process can be optimized and automized again. And then in the end, the final sign-off is, of course, also requires human judgment. So that's kind of our vision on tool verification. And with that, I think we arrive at the Q&A. And I would turn towards the chat to see if anyone has any questions. I think I already saw something pop up. This is just Stephanie asking the audience. Yeah, are there any questions with regards to tool verification process, the Emidat tool, how we work? Yeah, I would be interested to hear people's thoughts are. Of course, the classic argument applies. I will say that if there are no questions, then I think we did our job and we had a clear story, but I will give some more time. Any questions from you, Stephanie?
No, not really. No questions in the chat, so that's new. I don't know, Anni, Lucas, if there's something else that you would like to mention that you'd like the participants to take also a bit of a note of or take away from the session, except what you already mentioned from the checklist and from your learnings.
Yes, I actually did forget one thing, and it just popped to my head while Jonas was explaining about the process a bit. One thing is that what can really help reduce the verification time, and it's gonna sound stupid, but I'm gonna say it anyways, is if you are making agreement with the verifier that you're gonna submit your EPD at a certain time, and then you're actually not ready for that in time, then what happens in practice is the verifier's calendar is booked maybe 2 or 3 weeks ahead. And then when they have placed a slot for your EPD verification at a certain time, and then the EPD is not ready by then the big part of the timely verification comes from the fact that verifier has to pick like a small time gaps in between other work once the EPD is actually arrived in our mailbox. So this is like a bit of obvious thing, but it's just if the EPD developer is not committing to their time, then verifier has really difficult also to commit to their time. And that's just like one more remark about what can make the verification process smoother.
No, thank you.
Sounds good. Thanks. Good. Then I would say let's end the session. Thank you, everybody.
Maybe there's something in the chat actually. Hello. I sometimes feel that verification intensity depends on the national programming operator. Yeah, I mean, one of the verifiers wants to address his comment.
What I see is that yes, the EPD program operators have different checklists that can come from there. But also EPD program operators have different requirements to become a verifier and like how they maintain the verifiers, meaning that how often they give support and how often they deal with them. I would always suggest, of course, using Echo platform, like platform program operators. But yeah, it's a good point that sometimes some like a pop-up new program operators have quite low bar. I would assume that this is what the question is, where the question is coming from.
Yeah.
But low bar is also like not a good thing, especially when we are moving towards mandatory EPDs. Then if you have bad quality EPD, you will really risk with lots of things. Like it's not worth it, I would say.
No, I agree. I think I would interpret the question the same way, but also say like where we are going towards the CPR, the level of the requirement should be harmonized as well, right? The regulations should be European-wide the same, because right now we also still have different national regulations for EPDs. For instance, the Netherlands, where I'm from, has quite a intense national PCR. Which is useful for that case, but it's also a challenge for international markets. If a manufacturer wants to market their product in the Netherlands and in Germany, it should be a single verification, and they can have the environmental information about their product. So I think the same goes for the program operators, that this will be harmonized more in the future. Yeah, we came to the last slide. We're also like some minutes before the end of the hour, and I think quite efficient. So we will leave it here. I want to thank both of the guest speakers once again, and put their information on the slide. So if anyone has any further questions, I'm sure they could write an email to them. Of course, if you have any questions regarding the Emidat product or our tool verifications, you can send an email to me. My email is on the slide, or to hello@emidat.com, which is our general email contact. Yeah, thank you all for joining. I hope it was a informative session.
All right. Then thank you. Bye.
Thank you, all of you.
Thank you as
Yep.
well.
It was a
Thanks
pleasure.
all.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.